Hi everyone, it's Monday Musings time again, and I'm happy to tell you that I did finally get my pumpkin done, and I'm going to share a little bit with you about it. If you remember, I covered all of the sides here with some Tim Holtz fabric, and I got most of this side was kind of covered, and I didn't really mean for it to be, but you can still see it. And when I was demoing, I had to demo twice on this side, and so it got kind of opaque. But you can still see some of it there in the background, and then the other side is still very much, you can see the fabric. And just a reminder that this is a design by Judy Westgard Jenkins, and it came out of her Chalk-It-Up book. And I used Traditions paint, Traditions acrylic paint, artist grade acrylic paint in many colors, and I finished painting this last night. I love this oak leaf. I love the colors that Judy uses for her oak leaf, and the apple is really pretty as well. This part I haven't done yet. This part and this part and this lettering is done with a chalk pencil, charcoal white, and I used General, and you just fill in the letters with this pencil. When I finish, and this is going to be a second coat here, I did one coat last night, but when I finish, then I will spray this with a workable fixative to lock that chalk down, and then I will varnish it. But that's how we got the lettering, and it's quite easy to do this. It's very nice. Works very well. Okay, and then, you know, do all of that. I'm going to do this again as well. And it just looks really pretty cool here. See? And then this one also needs another coat. And what I did for the shading on these letters, hold on, show you how quick and easy this can be. Okay, so what I did for the shading of these letters here, as you see the dark part, is I used a black pastel pencil. And this one is Giocondo, but any black charcoal pencil will work. So, and then that's how I did those. And then you can see that when I get my second coat on, the contrast is really, really nice. It makes a nice shadow. Okay, so what I also did with this is I put some ribbing on the other sides with a float, and also using some of the colors on this side, and then I also put some transparent yellows on there to give it kind of a warm golden glowing look, and I did it on this one as well. So I left this one undone so that I could just do that real quick with you. Let me move my paints over here. And I'm going to use just a touch of dioxazine purple, just a touch, and it's on my hand as well, and a little bit of burgundy, because we also used that color in the grapes, and we used English red oxide in the grapes. So you see I've got some colors there, some warm colors. The dioxazine purple is also transparent. Hold on, I dropped my brush. Dropped a really important brush last night, and I didn't know that until I heard my son's dog Luna chewing it up behind me, and I was very upset with her for that. So I'm going to mix these. See, I'm only taking a little bit of that purple, as I don't want it to be too dark. It needs to be dark, but not overwhelmingly dark. So I'm just sneaking up on it, as my mentor Gabby Hunter likes to say. So there's my shading color for the ribs. And then I'm going to need an angle brush, especially since Luna decided to chew that one up. So I'm getting my angle brush out, and as we've talked before, when we float, we wet the brush and then we lay it down on the paper towel just until the shine goes away. That's what tells you you have enough moisture. So I'm going to load the tip of it. This is called the toe, the shorter end is the heel, and then I'm going to back and forth pushing the paint into the brush, blend it across so that it goes from a very heavy paint application to nothing. Just like this. And you have to put some pressure when you're doing this. You can't just tickle it like that. You've got to put the pressure. Work that into your brush. Okay? One thing I failed to do before starting to load the brush, and I need to do that real quickly, is put some extender blending medium on here. So I'm going to grab another brush and do that real quickly. Before my loaded brush gets dried. This is the equivalent of slow drying water. This keeps your surface moist and helps your floats to flow on smoothly. The real danger with using this is getting too much of it on there, and I do have a lot of it on here, so I'm brushing it in as well as I can, and then I'm going to take my towels and I'm just going to blot some of that back off, because you just want it to have a sheen on it. See, there's a lot on there. You do not want it, you don't want your paint to swim, so we just need a sheen on there. Okay. Now, to float, I'm going to lay the toe, the heavily loaded edge, on the edge of my piece, and I'm just going to paint up the sides. And as you see, because of the way we loaded it, I'm going to reload it the same exact way, then you get the heaviest concentration out here on the edge where you want it, and then it fades away to nothing. So I'm going to pull that all the way. Okay. Keep on going all the way around. Now if you get a heavy line, or if you get out too far, farther than you want to grab a mop brush and you can just pat it and work it back towards the edge. And you can also get rid of a hard line by patting it. Now you have to do that before it dries, otherwise it won't budge, but that's pretty easy. You know, floating, I've been floating for over 30 years, and some days I can't float to save my life, and other days it just, you know, the paint flows on the way it's supposed to, and I'm a real happy camper. So if you have troubles floating, don't let it get you down. Even those of us who have been doing it for decades have problems sometimes. Just work on it. The biggest secret is in your load, is having the right amount of moisture in your brush, and then making sure that when you have that moisture, you just load the tip and then you work it through your brush. Now if you have it all the way across the brush like I have right there, then a nice little secret is to take some glazing medium. I have mine diluted very thinly. Put it on the toe of the brush and then start blending, and that glazing medium will walk your paint back across the brush. Okay, so then I'm going to put some ribs on here. I'm going to go like this. See, what my floating is doing is giving this pumpkin dimension. It's making it kind of become 3D. And we'll see that even more so in a few minutes once I finish with these ribs. Now, you know, I could have drawn a line there to guide me, and it might have been more uniform, but I don't really care if it's uniform because this is a pumpkin, and pumpkins are not uniform. So it's not that hard to just wing it. Okay, and I'm going to come back up here again. And one more time. My brush is getting a little bit dry, so I'm going to dip this tip of it into my water, and then I'm just going to press it on my towel again so that there's not too much, and come back, and I've got that right amount of moisture in it again. Okay, make one more float here. Now this one should have been farther over, but it's okay. It's a pumpkin. Okay, so I've got my ribs. Alright. If you feel like you want to go back and make any of these darker, you can mix again and use more purple, and it'll get it darker for you. But I'm just going to go with this. Okay, then the important next thing is to dry it, because that extender makes it stay wet for a long time, and I don't want to smear it. Okay, so that takes a few minutes, and I cut that part out of the video. So now we're dry, and I also want to remind you that the reason that I have no trouble painting on fabric with my DecoArt paints, Traditions paints, is because I put I coated the surface in this decoupage matte medium. So what I'm actually painting on is the surface created by that medium. Okay, so now I want to put that golden glow on here. Now it's going to look a little different because we've got a lot of orange in this fabric. It's a different fabric, and it will look different. But you can see that we do have the same warm glow, so it's going to be good. So okay, see the difference? Such a difference. Alright, so I'm going to get my palette back out here, and I'm going to put some Hansa yellow out, and I'm going to go back and pick up a little bit of the English red oxide, just a touch. Never have to shake Traditions, as you can see. Sometimes you do have to coax it down to the opening of the bottle. Okay, so I'm going to get my palette knife. I think I want to take some of that out, and we'll sneak up on it just like we did with the Dioxazine purple. Okay, yeah. And make sure you don't have too much. I want this kind of a mustardy color, and we got it. We got it with only about half of the English red oxide that I had put out there. Okay. So we're going to, once again, put extender blending medium on our pumpkin. Move this out of the way. Because I want my paint to move. I also want it to become transparent. And the extender medium being on here makes it easy to disperse my paint so that it is transparent. Now yellows are pretty transparent anyway, but this is actually a semi-transparent pigment, so it can use a little help. And then when I put the English red oxide with it, that is an opaque pigment, so we have to build our transparency back in. Okay. So once again, I'm going to make sure that I don't have too much on there. I want it there, but I don't want it swimming. And so then I'm going to come back with my brush. You can still use this angle brush. You can use flat. You can use really any brush you want to. You can use a larger brush so that you work faster. You don't have to work as hard. But I'm just going to stick with this one that I've got because I'm too lazy to wash the bigger one. So there you go. Alright, so I'm going to pick up some of my paint that I mixed, and I'm just going to start putting it on my pumpkin. Okay, and I'm seeing that it's not as transparent as I want it to be, so I'm just going to I'm going to use my mop and start dispersing it. And then I can also pick up this brush, the big brush that I used, that already has extender medium in it. Alright, here we go. Now it's moving. So my shading is coming back. See? You see the difference now? How warm you can make it look with just a little bit of paint? So I'm going to, this time for this side, since I needed help spreading it, cat hair, then I'm going to make my brush a lot wetter, and so I'm going to send my paint down, make the paint even more wet so that I don't have to work so hard. And so, you know what? Sometimes it's worth it washing the bigger brush because I seem to be needing it. There we go. Now I'm going to use one more color on here, and I'm going to go ahead and dry it again. Now I just had a thought while I was drying that, and I have a pigment called quinacridone burnt orange that is very, very transparent, and I want to experiment a little bit. So I'm going to put a little bit of it out on my palette. I'm going to go ahead and take my big brush, and I'm going to wet it a little bit and get this very straight here. Get that very very loose. And so, because I don't want to get another brush out, then I'm just going to use my fingers to spread the extender. So let's do a little experimenting, because this is not the color I was going to put on it. But oh, this is a better idea. We're going to stick with the quinacridone burnt orange. That's nice, very nice. Okay, I'm going to have to put some extender on this side. Don't put your fingers in your mouth after you do this with your hand. It's not a good thing. So there is our orange, and I think that looks nice. And on that side we have the more yellow. So let's try this side. Okay. So the other color that I was going to use is Indian yellow, and it's also very transparent. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of a wash of that over there. I like the orange, but I still want to have that bright glow. So we're going to do the same thing, is take a wet brush, put a little bit of that in the brush, and see if I can get by with it without using extender. Yep, it's wet enough that I can. So this Indian yellow is a transparent pigment, and it brings that glow. Okay, so now I need to put the burnt orange, the quinacridone burnt orange, on this side, don't I? So let's get a big wash. Here I've got it real wet in my brush, and we're going to place it over this side just like we did the other side. Using transparent pigments is really a lot of fun. So there we are, and now we have two very glowing pumpkin sides. Okay, this. I think I'm going to put some quinacridone burnt orange on this side of this one, because that's glowing, but it's not glowing as nicely as the other piece. Okay, so just picking up my brush. My brush is extremely wet. A little bit more. And we're just going to brush it right on. There we have it. I'm very happy with the tones of both of these pieces. Okay. Now, back to this one. If you want to go over your rib edges again, the floated parts again, because they did get kind of lost in the transparent pigments. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up some dioxazine purple by itself, and I'll just go over those edges with the purple. Like that, and that'll darken. I'm doing this very loosely, very quickly. I believe if you take your time, you'll mess it up. Loading my brush the exact same way as I showed you before. And so forth. Now all I have to do, I'll finish this. Now all I have to do is put these two pieces together . Make sure that I don't mess up any paint doing that. So let's go like this. It's a little bit hard to do it with the fabric. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to have to do a little bit of sanding, but there's my pumpkin piece. I'll finish for you. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next week.